Welcome to Restore My Song, a space to be encouraged by two friends who love Jesus and see His purpose in all things, even pain. Every episode you'll hear real stories from real people who asked, "How am I going to make it through this?" and found God's redemption. Here's your hosts, Joya Hyde and Rayma Toll.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Restore My Song. And today we are joined by one of my friends, Kim Richards. We're so happy to have her here on the show.
Yay! Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
So Kim and I met when she and her family lived in Colorado, but she has since then relocated to the East Coast in South Carolina. We've got quite a beautiful story to unpack with Kim today. We're going to talk about how she and her husband, Donnie, are dreamers, entrepreneurs, but mainly lovers of Jesus and willing to go where He leads. So, yay. Without further ado, we should go ahead and get started.
Let's do it. Kim,
thank you for being here today. Can you tell us about a time that the Lord restored a part of your story that you thought was lost?
Yeah, what comes to mind first, thanks for having me, you guys. Truly, it is super fun to be here with you. And Joya, love getting to chat with you, and Rayma being with you. It's always a delight. I am taken with your question right away to caring for my mom. My husband and I, when we were just 5 years into marriage, we had two kids, and my mom needed help. My dad had passed away. My mom was diagnosed with Parkinson's, and Donnie and I felt like we wanted to care for her. And we didn't really know how long or what that meant. We just knew that was something that was part of what we wanted to do. Donnie was actually the one that said, I feel like the Lord has that for us when my mom would be ready. And I'll go back and tell more of that story, but to answer your question directly, it was a lot of years of really hard things, a lot of years of really beautiful things. But I found at the end of it, I hadn't given myself a lot of opportunity to dream because my number one focus was caring for my mom. And so I felt that I didn't know what dreaming really was during that season because it was just so full of caring for mom and raising kids, and I homeschool both my kids all the way since the beginning. And being able to look back, I can say there's restoration that happened to my dreaming once our season with mom was over and she passed, where it opened up the things in my heart that I didn't know, or maybe that I hadn't connected with during the time that I was with her, because it felt a little disappointing to dream because I didn't know when it would happen, or I didn't know how long I would be in this season. So I think looking back, I can say the time that I spent with my mom was so tender, and also the end of it, there was restoration there for the dreaming. It was a reward to take care of her, and also I feel like I was able to dream again once that season ended. Yeah.
We talk a lot about how hard it is when you don't know the time frame.
Yeah.
Like that's really difficult to trust and obey in those seasons when we just don't know when it's going to end.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. Yeah. There was so many, when we first started caring for mom, she was very independent. So my husband and I had a house in Fort Collins. We moved to Greeley because her house was bigger than ours. And so we lived upstairs, and then we refinished the basement, or I should say finished the basement, out as her apartment. So she really lived independently. She had a little kitchenette. She had a full apartment, her own space. And she lived very independently like that for several years, and would join us for dinner time, but she liked to have her breakfast time downstairs. And so it wasn't necessarily full-time care. It was just making sure somebody was there if she needed us. And she was lonely. My dad had passed away the year after Donnie and I were married. So she had been alone for quite some time. But there were so many sweet moments at the beginning that I feel like the Lord helped carry me through those really hard times that you didn't know the timing, that we didn't know the end. We didn't know how long she would be there or how long we would care for her. But I do feel like there was moments where I feel like the Lord continued to give us grace for the season that he had us caring for her. And I'm so grateful for that. I can't imagine walking through a season like that without having the Lord. And my kids got to have an opportunity with her that they wouldn't have had otherwise. She was actually their spelling teacher. So they would go downstairs to grandma's house. They called it grandma's house. They'd go downstairs to grandma's house and they would do spelling with her every day. And so she was involved in such beautiful ways that there was grace there for the moments where it was like, how long is this going to be? But also I could see the beauty that was there during that time too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So what would you say then are some of those markers of grace that kept you anchored? And kind of what was the timeline then of how she progressed in her health journey?
Yeah. She was with us for just about 10 years. We started living together in November of 2010. And then she was with us until October of 2019. So I guess 9 years. I'll give you the progression and then I'll give you the moments of grace. So up until I would say 7 years, she started slowing a little. Going up and down the stairs was a little bit harder for her, but still living fairly independently. She was a healthy woman when she was diagnosed with Parkinson's, quick in mind, all of the components. At the 7-year mark, we started noticing some things with her mind, things that she would think that she saw or things that she maybe heard overnight. And I didn't do a lot of research on Parkinson's because I wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt. I felt like if I did a lot of research, I would start looking for things or I would be expecting things. And so I didn't do a lot of research until we were probably 6 or 7 years in. And if you would have met her, she was the sweetest thing, and she would want you to come for dinner and she would just talk and listen to you. But I started noticing that she would say some things that she saw that I didn't see. And I decided it was time to do a little research. If you sat with her, you may not know she had Parkinson's because she didn't have the form of Parkinson's where she was really shaky. Her hands didn't shake in that regard where you might see the way that some of the physical manifestations of it, but she did have a hard time turning around or shuffling side to side. So there was some things there. But what we wound up finding out is that she had the form of Parkinson's that really can affect neurologically memory. It could create hallucinations. The neurological side of it for her could create hallucinations. So she could see things or hear things or smell things that weren't operational or didn't work or weren't there. Just was kind of confusing sometimes to talk with her. So at that point, we started to see her digress quicker. That would have been 2 years, like towards the end, before she had to go to memory care. There was one morning that she needed extra help, and it was help that I was unable to physically give her. And so we needed to take her to the doctor. And once she was at the doctor, her doctor asked her, "Louisa, are you having a hard time walking?" And she said, "Yes, I am." And she said, "I think I'd like to consider physical therapy, and let's see if we can progress, see if we can see some progress in your physical movement." And so that day, she went from the doctor's office to a live-in physical therapy rehabilitation center to see if we could gain her some strength. And at that point is when things started going further downhill. And she really started showing symptoms of memory issues when she was at that facility. And so from that facility, she actually didn't come home. She wound up going to memory care directly from there. So the markers of grace, to get to the question that you asked, was I she was so cognizant, and we had such beautiful moments up until that time. And so the Lord would remind me on the hard days of the memories that we were making with her. My kids remember her very clearly. They had a great relationship with her. She would buy them ice cream. She would say, hey, if you fly, I'll buy. And we'd go to the store and we'd buy ice cream, or we'd buy pizza. Grandma loved popcorn, so they were always having popcorn with Grandma. There was just memories that I didn't have with my grandmother. Donnie's parents, his mom is gone, and his dad had lived far away. So this was like their grandparent. And it was moments like that that the Lord continued to remind me the specialness it was of taking care of her. And so I think that at the end, what I struggled with the most was, did I do enough? Did I care for her the best way that I could have cared for her? And I feel like the Lord was very kind and brought those moments back to say, she lived out the best that she could for those years. We lived out the best that we could. And we have memories that I would not change for anything. It was very, very beautiful. And even when she was in memory care, she would have a really hard day, but she recognized me always. When she may not recognize other people, she knew it was me right away when I came. And same with my sisters, like she knew us until the very end. And that was really special. That was something I feel like was from the Lord, that even in the midst of her struggles, that was something that we never lost, was that she recognized who we were. So it was really beautiful.
That's such a gift.
Yeah, when you're in a caretaking journey like that, I feel like you have to have those anchors to carry through. Like you said, I don't know how we don't do it without the Lord, because he will be so faithful to bring those, like the Holy Spirit will bring those to our remembrances. And I think mainly help us to not get so stuck in bitterness, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
this broken world is so hard to caretake through. And it's so easy to get caught in the unfairness or just the day-to-day, when is this going to end? Okay, so you came out of this 10-year caretaking journey, and then you mentioned at the beginning that that's kind of when you started to dream again. But what was that transition like from caretaker to now Kim?
Yeah. That's a good question. I feel because I had the 2 years that she was in the memory care facility, I do feel that I had a really great transition. So it wasn't that I went from caretaking right away and then she was gone, and it wasn't abrupt in that regard, but I had the opportunity to live independently from caring for her while I still had her here to have a relationship with her. And that was a really sweet time for me because, one, she was in a beautiful memory care facility, just a community that was so beautiful. The staff was really great when we first, when we got her there, and it was very close to our home. So the kids and I could walk there, and we did that a couple times. We'd go and visit her. So I felt like it was a really beautiful opportunity because I got to go and to just sit and talk with her. We could have lunch with her. We could go do activities with her. And then I could come home and I was detached from the care. And it was so, it was like a burden lifted in that I knew she was getting the care that she needed, that I wasn't able to care for her at home, the level of care. And so that was, I just feel like all of it. I mean, I keep saying it, but I feel like as I went through this journey, the Lord was just so there and present in all of it. He aligned and put things into motion exactly as they should have. I'm just so grateful. So once we were separated from that, I feel like there was an opportunity to focus more on my kids and then to also focus on myself. And so the transition out of that allowed me to see where I needed to take care of myself now, where I had put my energy into caring for my mom. And as I began to go down that journey, go down that road, my husband, Donnie, he's very insightful and often can tell me he can suggest to me what I might need before I can come to that conclusion. And we just started talking about, okay, what could it look like for us? when mom passes, would we want to stay in Greeley? Would we want to stay in Colorado? And we'd not had this conversation in years because there were moments where I thought we would be in Greeley for the rest of our lives. So when we started having those questions, it just started opening up a little bit of the, what do I want? What would feel good for me? And that was the start of that journey of time to do a little bit of self-reflection of, okay, what would that look like? So we just started teeny tiny steps of dreaming, still knowing that we were connected here, and I was still medical power of attorney to my mom, so still very much involved. So when mom passed, we had known that we would want to relocate out of Greeley. We started saying, where would we go? And as we walked down those steps, it was requirements for healing would be someplace quiet, someplace without neighbors. We'd lived all of our lives in a neighborhood with very close neighbors. And what I was finding with myself is my nervous system was continually activated because I was always waiting to hear if mom needed me, especially overnight. She carried we got her a jacket for her pajamas that had a little phone. She had her phone with her at night. So if she needed me at night, she could call me from my phone was by my bedside. So we had these systems in place for her safety that, looking back, really affected how I was operating. I was in a constant state of activation and alertness. And so as we started dreaming about what next seasons would be, it was like, I would love the opportunity to have a place that's very restful, both quiet, where I can't see neighbors, which sounds kind of silly, but I was so attuned. I was so attuned to like knowing when the neighbors were moving around and who was going to work and who was coming and going. It was just part of my day. I didn't think about it until I was able to step back and go, I would actually not like to experience that anymore. So what if we could find a place where we didn't have to?
Yeah.
Okay. So that, there's so many things like that were part of our conversations that it actually unlocked that dreamability. I'm going to just use that word. It was like, oh, okay, we could do this. Oh, we could do this. And it just started to spark curiosity.
Yeah.
What would it look like if we moved? And as we did that, we could just, the next step. What about this? What about this? And so there was one time we would sit in the morning and have our coffee before the kids got up. And Donnie said, okay, if you could move anywhere in Colorado, where would you go? Money was no option. Money's no option. Pick wherever you'd like to go. Where'd you like to go? And I was like, I don't think I want to live in Colorado anymore. And he was like, tell me more. It just kind of came out of nowhere. I don't know. I just thought it and I said it. And as soon as I said it, there was this like peace over me that was like, I don't want to live in Colorado. Okay, let's start exploring that. And so I feel like if I could sum it up, it was a season of following curiosity, whereas before I would not do that, or I set that aside in order to stay committed to caring for my mom. And so once we opened up that opportunity or that, that box of curiosity, it was like, well, what about this? And what about this? That's where that transition was like, okay, we do have the opportunity to make something that we want. We have the opportunity to dream again. We have the opportunity to move forward because now we get to make choices for us that don't necessarily have to be including mom in those choices. So that's kind of a long answer, Rima. I hope that answers the question that you asked me.
You absolutely did. No.
Okay.
Basically we're just kind of wandering through your story a little bit, and wow, that was a powerful statement, Kim, about how, mini dreaming sometimes is the first step. If you feel like big dreaming is out of the question because you haven't been at all. I love that practice you just demonstrated, that like, hey, we got up. We just asked each other these small questions, no pressure on it, right? Because I feel like there are people who are very inclined to dream big. And you and I both, Kim, are in community with a lot of these people who I'm always like, I don't even know how you're dreaming about like building a huge facility and like having these huge concerts, but God bless you, I'm still just in my life. But I love that reminder that, dreaming really is for all of us. Like it is how God breathes life back into our hard seasons and redeems
Yeah.
when we lose that ability to dream, right? It's when we're stalemated, and
Yeah.
he has that for us. And I love that. It's like, it's actually just simple. Just start small.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I think so. My husband is a dreamer. He can dream very big things. I'm very practical. Sometimes, so, we'll often your greatest strength is also your greatest opportunity. I'm very practical, which serves me well in a lot of areas. For dreaming, it's very hard. And the Lord is so gracious because he knows that if Donnie just said to me, we're going to move to another state, I would have been like, slow down. I need to have all of the steps in place to make that practical.
Yep.
But the Lord's like, okay, Kim needs bite-sized pieces. So the question that came out was, if you could move anywhere, where would you go? In Colorado. Oh,
Yeah.
well, and so it's like he knows, the Lord knows that
Yep.
for me, I'm practical and I'm linear. And so if I'm going to make a move, if I'm going to make a decision, I need some practical things happening here to help me make the decision. And he shows up in that, and he's like, "Okay, I got you. We can start small. We can start small," and that's what we did. And
Yeah.
and like I said, I'll say again, it was a season of really following curiosity. It felt childlike in the most beautiful way. My favorite thing, even now that my kids are older, my favorite thing when my kids are growing up is to take them into nature. Going to a natural area, even parks, but just mostly going into nature where there was no playground equipment for them to play on.
Yeah.
Their imaginations and their curiosity was my favorite thing. I would pack all the snacks so we could stay out as long as we needed to stay out, because just watching that come alive in them when they would go outdoors, specifically in nature where there was no other stimulation but their imaginations,
Yeah.
was my very favorite thing. And I felt like we got a peek of that, or a piece of that of our own, where it was like, what if we did this? What if we tried this? And we'd done that with businesses, which is still fun, but when you get to do it personally, like what would I personally like in this situation? It's really fun. And so that was our journey from really Colorado. How we got out to South Carolina was just the sparks of curiosity that happened. We just followed them. And some of them went dead, and some of them we followed. And you just begin to follow the path and know what that feels like. It's really fun. It's really fun. Yeah.
I love the concept of entrusting that childlike wonder to the Lord, though, and just allowing him to guide you through it.
Yeah.
Because he wants us to involve him in that, right? Like, he asks
Agreed,
us to bring that to him. And then he loves to see those parts of us come back alive, too. Because he
Yes.
is our good
Yeah.
and loving Father,
Yeah.
right?
I picture it, yes, to everything you just said. And the delight that we have when we get to surprise our kids, or
Right.
the delight that I took in our kids when we were out in nature and just seeing that, I imagine that being exactly how the Father
Yep.
feels when there's something that we follow, or there's a spark that we follow, and we start to find delight in that, and him going like, yes, this is my favorite thing, because there's something that comes alive in me when I pursue delight, when I
Yeah.
seek out delight.
Yeah.
This is unrelated, but it's about delight. When I turned 40, Donnie bought me a paddleboard. We were still living in Colorado. Donnie bought me a paddleboard, and he said, "What do you want to do for your birthday?" I said, "I want to go paddleboarding alone for the whole day." He's like, "Great." So I did pump out my paddleboard for the first time on my own, which was like, oh my gosh, what have I done? But we packed a bunch of snacks. We packed all kinds of stuff for myself, and I went out to Prospect Ponds in Fort Collins, which I didn't even know if you could paddleboard on. You can. And I spent the whole afternoon by myself out on the pond, just me and the Lord. And I said to him, I was looking out to the west, beautiful mountains, and I said, "Okay, Lord, like, what are we going to do with our 40s? What are we doing here?" And he said, "You're going to seek adventure and delight."
Wow.
And as soon as he said it, it was like chill. That's exactly what I want. I want to seek adventure. We've been very homebody oriented, caring for mom. I want to seek delight. I've made there's no regret in this. I've made sure that she's comfortable and has the things that she really enjoys and the things that she needs, making her life as rich as possible. And moving into the 40s, the Lord was like, you're going to seek adventure and delight. And still, I mean, we're this far into my 40s, and still those are the two words that come back over and over and over, is seeking adventure and seeking delight. And I could say that is certainly what we followed coming to South Carolina as well, is those two things. So he's just so good. He's so good. And I'm thankful.
Yeah,
Mostly just really
Scripture
thankful.
tells us to delight ourselves in the Lord, and He will give us the desires of our hearts.
Yeah.
And that's what I see coming true in your story, right? It's like you focused on delighting yourself in the Lord first.
Yeah.
And then all these dreams begin to flourish.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
So tell us about how God started answering very specific prayers with this property you ended up with and your journey to get there.
Okay. We have always dreamed about having some acreage, just small acreage, and being able to have some space to do the things we want to do. Things that seem small, like we love to have chickens. We'd love to have a shop where Donnie could work from. We'd like to have a space with no neighbors, like just all those things that we've talked about for so long. And we knew that that was not something that we could do in Colorado. Affordability wise, it just wasn't an option.
Right.
And so when we started looking, I have been to North Carolina once before, and I just loved it. I loved the landscape of it. I loved the people that I met. It just was a really impactful experience for me. And so when we were like, okay, if Colorado's not where it is, where would it be? And we started talking about all these other states, and some of them we'd say, and it was like, no. And then some of them would be like, maybe. Others, no. Then we said the Carolinas, and both of us were like, there's something there. Let's explore that. So then we were thinking, let's do something totally different. Let's move to the beach. So we were looking in North Carolina, in like the northern part of North Carolina, the beach area out there, and finding properties and homes. And as we were looking for specific things. Can we find a church that seems alive and thriving and a place that we could plug in? That was something that we were looking at. Does it have a really fun, cute downtown? Could we go and make a lifestyle out of building community in a small town? So there's things that we were looking for. We had done that for almost 6 months. That was our plan. And there was one day we were in the car, all four of us, both the kids were with us. And I just said, okay, so if you guys could move to the beach or the mountains, what would you choose? And at the same time, they both said the mountains. Donnie and I looked at each other and we were like, shoot, we got to change our plan. Like, they don't want to go to the beach. So what are we going to do? And we knew we were moving. We knew it was going to be to the Carolinas. And we were having dinner with my family to tell them that we were going to be moving. We don't know where, but we know it's the Carolinas. My oldest sister said, oh, is that where, how did it come up? We said the Carolinas, we're going to go to the Carolinas. She's like, oh, there's a church that just started there called Studio. Is that where you're going? And I said, I don't know what that means. I don't know where that is. Like, tell me more. So she told us a little bit more about this church called Studio. And when she said it, we're like, okay, we'll take a look at it. So we went home, looked it up online, and really liked what we saw. It was in Greenville, South Carolina. And I was like, South Carolina? I have no grid for South Carolina, only been to North Carolina. So we looked up Greenville, South Carolina, which happens to be in the upstate at the base of the Blue Ridge Mountains. And we were like, mountains. And just followed the curiosity. Jamin's like, does it have an Apple store? So we looked it up. Yep, there's an Apple store. Kenna was like, does it have this? Yep, has that. And so we just started looking, what about this? What about that? So we got on to, I think it was visitgreenville.com or something, and there was this option to order a magazine. So I was like, okay, let's order the magazine. So they sent us this free magazine, and we just started looking. It was the mountains, it was South Carolina. And as we started looking, it was like the curiosity just kept getting met, and then it was the next thing, and it was the next thing. And so from there, we're like, let's just go visit. It looks beautiful, lots of outdoor places. Everything we're looking for is there. Let's just go see. I have no idea what this is like. So I was getting ready to book tickets for all four of us. And again, My husband is amazing. I sat down, he sat down at the table. I went over what it was that we had found, or what it was that I had found. And he said, I think you're supposed to go alone. I'm like, why would I go alone? This is a move for everybody. I don't want to go alone. He said, if you go with all of us, you will be more concerned about our comfort, and you will be less inclined to spend time with the Lord to ask if this is the right place. And I was like, okay, I think you're right. As soon as he said it, had not crossed my mind. Why in the world would I go alone to a place that we were going to go as a family? So I booked my ticket and I came alone, and it was the exact right thing that I should have done. And from the time I got here, all I can say is that there was total peace, tons of excitement, and the curiosity just kept getting stronger. And I could spend an hour or 2 hours telling you all the things that happened in the 5 days that I was here. I actually had a journal with me, which I never travel with a journal. And on the plane ride home for the 2.5 hours, I journaled everything because I didn't want to forget the things that the Lord had done. It was amazing. So I got home and I was like, everybody needs to go. Donnie's like, we don't need to go. If you love it, we'll love it. I'm like, no, I really think I need everybody to go. This feels like a big deal. And so I wound up scheduling a trip for all of us to come because I wanted them to feel the same excitement and the same peace and the same curiosity, all those things. And so several months later, after something I hadn't planned on talking about, but in the time that I had booked the ticket, Donnie had been in a major car accident. And it wound up delaying us by about 6 months. And so we wound up waiting. We had to cancel that trip. We wound up coming at the end of April to visit. And in the time that we were here visiting, all 4 of us, I think it was one of the kids said, could we just stay here and have somebody send all of our stuff? And I was like, this is the right spot. And that's when it was settled. We knew that Greenville is where we were headed, and then began the journey of saying goodbye to Colorado, putting our house on the market and preparing to move into this next season. And so I got a little off track, Raymond, to what you asked me, but we knew we could find something affordability wise that had the things that we'd been dreaming about when we got here. So we started looking, and because it's such a cool story, I found an Airbnb. Well, let me back up just a little bit. So we came to Greenville. I met with a realtor. He did a tour with me. And there's a town just to the north of Greenville called Travelers Rest. And the name in itself was intriguing because the whole reason that we began moving is to have a season of rest from entrepreneurship, from caring for my mom, just a season of rest and healing. And the town was called Travelers Rest. So when I was visiting, I asked the realtor, I said, I would like to just see it. As soon as we drove into Travelers Rest, down into Main Street, I was like, this is exactly where I want to live. There was just no question. So when we came and visited with the family, same thing. Everyone loved it. And so we started looking for places in Travelers Rest. The goal was to sell the house, come here, stay at Airbnb for 30, 60 days, and find a home. So we wound up finding a Airbnb in Travelers Rest. It was called Peaceful Getaway. That was the name of it on Airbnb. And the story's kind of long, but the host wound up reaching out to me to say, I want to book your trip for you, but we're selling our property. We may not have these dates available. Can I get back to you? Absolutely, that'd be fine. So she contacts me a couple days later and says, if you'd be open for a phone call, I'd like to just give you some details. We want to still book your trip, but we have some details. And I'm like, this is odd. Okay. Right. So I wound up getting on the phone with her. It was amazing. Her name was Anna. She and her husband were retired pastors. This property that the Airbnb was on that we were going to rent has a second house on it as a main house. The Airbnb was a house that she used to care for her mom when her mom was living. And so her mom had lived here. And then when her mom passed, they put it up as Airbnb to earn some extra income. They were selling to retire, and they were wanting to sell to a family that would take care of the property moving forward. And so there just was this beautiful connection. So her and I wound up connecting, and she wound up calling a couple days later, and she's like, after having that conversation with you, Brad and I just wondered, would you and Donnie be interested in purchasing this property? And we were like, maybe. I mean, it just happened so quickly. And so we stayed in contact. Of course, we got our realtors involved, and we wound up moving here to stay in the Airbnb for a month while we were closing on the property that would now be what we have here.
Wow.
So it just, I mean, things that you can't orchestrate on your own.
No,
It's like things that the Lord just puts into place that you just couldn't even think of on your own. So yeah, that's what wound us up here with some acreage. We have chickens, and and it's just been a journey that the Lord's just been close the whole time. So
Wow.
really
I
grateful
can
for it.
attest. I got to come 2 years ago now. I was thinking about that. That's already been 2 years.
2 years.
And it is peaceful and lush and green, and it's enough acreage, but it's not too much acreage. I mean, I just seeing you guys thrive there is the most beautiful thing.
Thank you. I can't see any neighbors. I can hear them sometimes, but I can't see them. And
That's ideal.
Lord-
So you know you're not completely isolated, but yet
yes,
you're isolated enough.
that's exactly
Yes.
right. Yes, and they're all very kind. We've met most of them. Donnie's talked with all of them at some point, and they're all very kind people. Yeah, this has been really beautiful.
Wow.
That's awesome. So we didn't really get to touch on like your entrepreneurial side, but maybe could you just give us a quick list of the different businesses that you and Donnie have grown, sold? I mean, you guys are
Yes.
some of the most creative dreamers I know. So just give us like the quick bullet list.
Okay, you're so kind. Okay. I had a career with Starbucks, and I did that for 10 years. I was ready to come home and be with the kids. He was a full-time stay-at-home dad. I was the one that had the career because there were things that I wanted to accomplish. So when I left that, we started a home inspection company, and we had that for 9 years. We built it, ran it. We had a couple employees at the end, and when Donnie was ready to move on and do something different, we sold that business. From there, we decided, we met in coffee. So he and I had met at Starbucks. We actually were hired on the same day at Starbucks. That's how we met each other. And so we decided we wanted to get back into coffee because we love what coffee does for community and bringing people together. We knew we didn't want to have a storefront, and so we bought a vintage camper and we overhauled it and remodeled it to be a mobile coffee bar. That was called Storymaker Coffee Bar. So Donnie did all the roasting for that. We did mobile beverage events, and we did that for 4 years. And then we sold that right before we moved to South Carolina. Out here, Donnie is in real estate full time. We are able to have an Airbnb. So the house that I spoke of, we're still running it as an Airbnb. And in between all of those businesses that were providing our main income, we also had several craft businesses. So I would do craft markets. The kids have done craft markets. One of the blessings and the curses about being an entrepreneur family is that when you try to be creative and you make something that you really like, you immediately figure out how you can monetize it. And the hard part of that is then creativity becomes work instead of creativity being just creativity. And so coming here, there's been several times where we've made something or tried something new. It's like, oh, how could we turn this into a business? And we're like, not right now.
Yeah.
The Lord was very clear that entrepreneurship needed a quick break while we were in South Carolina. But we do tend to start businesses by accident. Some on purpose, and then some it's like, oh, we could really do something with this. So there's always wheels turning as to what the next thing could be. So yeah, I think I hit them all. Did I hit them all, Rayma?
Oh yeah, I think so. I think
Okay.
so. But I know. I feel like I need to ship my son Asa out to you because he's my little entrepreneur, and I'm always like, I don't know how to help you with that.
Yes,
I feel like you either have the brain or you don't.
We can FaceTime. I'll FaceTime him all the time. Yes. But I just want to say, in the time that we did the camper, when we sold the home inspection company and we bought this camper, we were in a community of dreamers. So, Raymond, you didn't give yourself very much credit for it, but I will say in that home church community, we were all part of that and we all dreamed together on things because Donnie and I showed up with a photo of this 1950s camper that was completely gutted and not at all cute. And we're like, we're starting a business. And everyone in the room was like, of course you are. This is amazing. You're going to do amazing at it. And there's just this like, that community of people easily jumped into dreaming, which made it very easy to do. And so surrounding yourself with people and community that can see in you the things that you don't see yet and can encourage and build that up in you. I mean, it's invaluable. It's invaluable because we could have easily walked into any room and someone would have been like, okay, sure. Like that sounds exciting. And these people were like, this is going to be amazing. I'm just ready to throw a party for an idea because we were surrounded by people who dream and love to see dreams come true. So it was also the community that we were part of then. It's a big part of it too.
Yeah, I love that. All right, Joya, do you want to ask your favorite question?
Sure. If you could go back, maybe while you were caretaking for your mom and tell yourself one thing, what would you tell yourself?
Oh, that's a good question. Ooh, that's a good question. Okay, let's see. One thing that I would tell myself would be, you have what it takes to make it through this. I would remind myself more often than I did, you have what it takes. You're equipped for this, and you have what it takes to get through this. And not just get through it, you're going to be able to look back and see the seeds that were planted, and you're going to be able to look back and see the reward for the time that you put in. And I would say that to myself more regularly. Yeah, that's a very good question.
That's good advice too. Great advice.
I've been so struck lately. Like I feel like God's been giving me scriptures when I've been doing little devotionals or, just hearing on other podcasts, just how he does not forget or lose or change his mind about anything.
It's so
and
good.
We can trust that he is good, but not just like a removed good, but like that he has good for us and towards us every step of the way, and no season is lost to him. And that can be some hard-earned faith to finally come to. I think you have to walk through a dark season, but what a grace and mercy to be able to look back and go, God, reframe and rename this for me. Show me where you were every step of the way, because Jesus was totally there every single day, right? You were caretaking for your mom and facing uncertainties and feeling the fog and going, who am I? And it's just like, he's there even then.
Yes.
So that's such a beautiful testimony, Kim. Thank you.
It really was such a tremendous testimony. And I just want to touch on that. There's no time limit to his restoration.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, it seems overwhelming when we're in the thick of it, but there's no timeline. He's not set by our human standards of time.
Yeah. 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 It's beautiful.
Awesome. Well, thank you for encouraging us today. Thank you for sharing so willingly and just encouraging our hearts and our listeners' hearts to hold fast to him no matter what we're walking through.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It's so fun to just visit and share and be with you guys, for sure. Thank you.
Yeah. What an honor to get to sit with your story for a little bit.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I guess until next time.
Until next time.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We look forward to growing our community together. We want to continue telling the stories of where the veil between heaven and earth is so thin and we can see God at work in our lives. To help us grow this community, please do share this podcast. We're working on being on lots of platforms, but whatever platform you found us on, please give us good reviews, leave comments. You can even just add stars, give us a 5 out of 5, shameless plug. Also, if you want to contact us directly, you can find us on Instagram at restoremysong, or also send us an email at restoremysong@gmail.com. All right, we'll see you soon.